And it's Telec's moniker that they fundamentally change the way in which optical networks connect, but there are some clear challenges in this space where Telec is finding a medium to cut operating expenses and increase utilization of equipment in data centers. Here to tell us much more about these challenges is Spencer Williams. He's Vice President of Sales, Marketing, and Product Strategy at Telec. And Spencer, welcome to the segment.
Hi, thank you.
Well, thanks for being here. I want to ask you, why is it Telec's approach to design a really full end-to-end physical layer 1 solution that can cut operating expenses and also increase utilization in the data center?
I think the first thing is I think just our situation at hand with the carriers and content distribution networks. We as people, including myself, drive margins down, and we want faster access to data, and we don't want to pay for it. So I think that in nature drives the need to cut costs. So we're constantly trying to help our very, very busy customers that have much more important things on their hands to worry about than physical layer 1 structure. So we're working to be able to support them in engineering that. We also know that OpEx can be more expensive than CapEx as far as our products go, and legacy sites create challenges with space. So we're constantly up against a very legacy architecture problem as the future network needs increase.
Spencer, I mentioned at the top of the show that your moniker of sorts is that you fundamentally change the way in which optical networks connect. Can you apply this approach to the following areas? And there's 4 of them. And I'll start with the first one here. It's cable layouts and how densifying a network creates an opportunity for human error.
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually at the data center workshop for TIA, one of the statements was 70% of network issues are caused by human error. So when we're talking cable layouts, anytime you're trying to put 10 pounds of flour in a 5-pound bag, it creates other issues. So we see raceway overflow, the inability to understand point-to-point cable lengths, which just add to that challenge. That slack typically exists within the raceway. We also have issues with disrupting connections as connections get closer together and there's more moving parts to be able to manage cable.
Now the second area, Spencer, is cable management and scalability for the gigabit future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big challenge that we face is comes on two points, but the first point being a lot of legacy standards in place. I think OEMs need to start looking to challenge the status quo and start designing around the future, not standards that were built in 1980. And so we're starting to see, I guess, more adoption from this. We've seen MPO connectors kind of help in the move towards a gigabit future, but it also creates challenges with the multiple polarities offered to the market. As well as I think the other thing is our customers need to be willing to be open to new architectures and change.
And the third area rather, Spencer, is the difference between the core and the access network and how one product really can't fit both.
Right. Yeah. I use a kind of a Lord of the Rings reference more than anything. One frame can't rule them all, but we've seen it goes back to the standards. When we're trying to develop a product to do everything, that product has limitations, and we've seen that a lot with optical distribution frames trying to have that same model be able to fit within a rack, and we believe that's really 2 separate products. There's a ODF that is built to manage the core, and then there's lower count panels, but that still need to be have that high density that mount into the rack and have the ability to have VAMs, WDM modules, and MPO as well.
And last, Spencer, monitoring interference and the necessity for PIM testing.
Yeah, I think in what we're seeing as far as our customers in the wireless space is, as more spectrum is released, obviously not fast enough to what we want, But as more spectrum is released, we're starting to see more interference out there, and now that it's fiber to the antenna, it requires to actually pull that circuit down, or requires a tower climb, and that's just not sustainable with our constant demands and needs for a good network. So we're able to kind of help the carriers split that circuit, make sure that they don't have to take that circuit down while they're testing for interference and PIM testing. So that's where we're really focused on the mobility side of things.
So Spencer, moving on, if Telect understands that equipment like passive optical connectivity and data center secondary distribution are not revenue producing for CSPs and CDNs, what strategy are you taking to serve your customers?
Well, I think being agile and flexible to meet the needs of the future, I think is our motto while working with our customers to design. But we're constantly trying to design our products to take up less space, being able to design architectures that support that as well when you're talking end-to-end cabling. And we're also looking at ways to save on the OpEx side, so you don't have to send somebody out to do any maintenance for everything.
Hey, Spencer, let's wrap up the interview by giving us an example of what you just referenced. Can you provide an example whereby your equipment and products take up less space, and maybe measure power use to reduce operational and infrastructure costs?
Absolutely. I think the first space savings product suite that we're constantly pushing the limits on is optical distribution frames in the core. We've been able to design to save up to 60% space within a facility, as well as cut OpEx on splicing or fusion splicing on the frame, as well as CapEx in that matter. And since space has a dollar amount behind it, that's valuable to our customers. And as far as on measuring power, we have a DC secondary product line that is really founded. It's our Energy Smart product line, founded on monitoring at the circuit level, and we've actually been able to help customers identify the power that they're actually using and understand what they're actually paying for. As co-location becomes more of a player within telecom, a lot of the times they're charging for bulk power, and we actually have had customers save up to $1 million in 5 months in power costs just by knowing what they're actually using versus what they're paying for.
Well, Spencer, thanks for being on the program. Also, on behalf of TIA, we'd like to welcome you once again. As a member of TIA and beyond the TIA's data center workshop, we'd love to work with you guys in 2017.
Looking forward to it, and thank you for the time.
Thanks, Spencer.
Cheers.